So I got my hands on the Galaxy S8. These are pretty looking things. You probably already knew that though. I was lucky enough to get these pre-release models before the actual retail version is available, and I figured, hey, you guys are gonna wanna know about these devices, the ups and downs, the things I like, the things I don't like, and so on. So that's why we've got the video the way that we do today. It's a bit of a fake, if you will. I've been using the S8 Plus for somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 hours, so I have thoughts. One of the things you're gonna notice right away, the footprint is very similar to the Pixel XL. What ends up happening here, through the elimination of the bezels on the right and left side, and these extremely thin bezels on the top, end up with display and less body, less phone body. So when, as a comparison, now I think a lot of people pick up this phone and go, man, it's such a big screen, it feels so thin. Well, there's certain applications, like video, for example, in which this aspect was a bit bizarre. So if I go on YouTube, the entire interface, you're taking up top to bottom, it's all base. But then you notice those things that you were trying to avoid, those bezels, they come right back. One of the reasons that a lot of people go for a bigger display in the first place is to have a bigger viewing experience. But since nothing truly fits this aspect ratio natively, you end up with these black bars. Now granted, within the app, there's the opportunity to punch in. But what you know there, head, for example, starts to get chopped off a little bit, because video makers like myself, we're not framing or creating for this bizarre aspect ratio. It sounds like I'm hating on this decision. I'm really not. It's just something that you should probably know. Now, talking about the screen a little bit more, this is, it's the nicest screen. Smartphone, it's OLED. Now, a weird thing about the brightness, if you scale it up to full blast, it kind of gives you a warning. Experience the highest quality display, maximum screen resolution. This may reduce your battery life. The weird looking at this is in the wake of the Note 7, of course, that whole fiasco with batteries expanding and exploding, and so it's not the most inspiring thing to have the manufacturer you to not use your device at maximum capacity. It's blue all the way up, and you get to the very end, and it turns orange. To me, there's a strange kind of subconscious implication the device properly, or that I'm to the extreme. There's also the performance mode button, dedicated button, which will push your brightness up 10%. It's that last 10% represented by the orange color on the bar. And then it'll also give the actual screen resolution that you were buying, the WQHD Plus. This is where things get super weird. By default, out of the box, you're not full res of the display, which, by the way, the most beautiful display ever. You would think so. You've innovated here. You've created this incredibly beautiful display. Wouldn't you want people to have all the pixels out of the box? By default, it's in FHD, so 2220 by 1080, so a little bit beyond 1080p, but of course not nearly as groundbreaking as this WQHD Plus 2090 by 1440. This is where that resolution is going to run in the center, and you got to decide to go up to the next one. Once again, for me, not the most inspiring thing. Maybe this is about giving you option, but this is looming. It's looming over a listener's heads. And don't believe me, go watch the 90 million views that they're buying on that commercial about quality assurance. I think it should full res out of the option to toggle it down if you want increased batteries. Going with this incredibly beautiful design has the consequence of not having huge batteries in the first place. So it's 3,500 milliamp hour, 3,000, no real increase there from the previous models. And that's something I think a lot of customers, thing worth mentioning is that the S7 Edge had a tiny bit more battery than this bigger footprint device Plus. It's worth noting, but you have the ability to set up edge panels, so you hide some like it. My issue with having this thing over here, what ends up happening is in a particular app where I'm grabbing from the side of the display to scroll, especially if you're using the device in landscape mode and you're kind of scrolling up and down, sometimes you can toggle that accidentally. I've been using, I just turned that off. Another big thing worth mentioning is what Samsung has done with the software here. It seems weird to say, but it's probably my favorite development. I like the kind of stripped down, clean version of Android as it was intended. Now, Samsung has made their own tweaks to this skin. This thing, in a way, reflects what TouchWiz used to look like. In fact, it's a lot closer to the way the Pixel looks and stock Android behaves. By default, you have no apps natively in the display section here, like you would on an iPhone, for example. All hidden in this little drawer you pull up on. Look at this. Way cleaner. For the first time ever, I've got the back button in the right location. You can swap the back button to the other side, which is the way that it's another thing to mention. In the absence of a physical button, this home button here on the S8 Plus and the S8, a little haptic feedback to it, similar to what the iPhone has. But I like that they're not taking up too much real estate with that section either. These are nice little buttons. These two phones actually have the same resolution potential. There is absolutely no pixel breakup at all. I don't know that the human eye is picking up that variance in pixel density at this scale here, but it's an it to note. One of the things I appreciate the fact that they have this cool color temperature. You can toggle this blue light filter to warm up the tone. I click down here. Another nice thing is you can kind of toggle how much of it you want. So you might like a tone or something a little bit cooling about using warmer tones at night, help you go to sleep. I wouldn't know about it. 3 a.m., I'm trying to go to bed. You know how that goes. So there's been a little bit of talk, a little bit of chatter about the speaker situation, which is a little bit strange because it seems pretty obvious. There's a single speaker, even though there were rumors that we were good on here. Not so much the case. You have a similar speaker layout to the old stuff, you see, with USB Type-C added now, and traditional jack, which I know a lot of people are going to be happy about. They're going to include some high-end AKG headphones with the retail version of this device. Chances are they're going to be a huge step up on what you're used to receiving included in the box.
Message boards, stock quotes, news, email notifications, Google Analytics. McDonald's is hiring. You ever flip a burger?
So the front-facing camera got an improvement in terms of number of pixels. So it's an 8-megapixel front-facing camera now. On the back, though, you still have 12 megapixels. From what I can tell, though, from what Samsung is saying, there are some software differences in how these images are being handled. Theoretically, maybe there's a improvement. I think you're going to be very close to what the S7 is. Amazing. The quality of images we're making right now. You now have QHD available on the front-facing camera. When we switch to the back-facing camera, of course, we go all the way up to U. The default setting is FHD 1920 by 1080. Plenty of options above that, which you have to select yourself, including a 60 frame per second option at 1080p. This might be a huge consideration. Oh my goodness. This might be the deal. It's hard to take a bad photo on this camera. I'm condemning the device as a whole here when I talk about the fingerprint scanner. When I look where my hand falls. I mean, it's just so natural for it to fall there. But issue here is that the fingerprint sensor is right beside it. Maybe this was the only place they could put it, but maybe they could change the shape. I don't know. What ends up happening? You end up putting your finger, in many cases, on the camera lens and smudging it up. This gets funnier when you first launch the camera app, in which the app prompts you to wipe your lens. There's also a couple of other options for on the device. The iris scanner, which takes way too long. I'm not going to use that, and it's a little odd because sometimes you want to unlock your device without looking clearly at it, like lining up, like as if you're taking a selfie. Your other option is this face unlock, in which case you hold it up to your face, it's incredibly quick, and so on. But that one makes me nervous because I'm like, I just don't secure with it, so I'll be using this fingerprint sensor even though it's a little bit odd. Oh, this is kind of cool. The adaptive display. This again allows you to optimize the color range, saturation, and so on. Select from these options here: AMOLED Cinema, AMOLED Photo. This dedicated button for this assistant called Bixby. This could be useful in the same way that Google Assistant is. You can still launch Google Assistant. If I hold down here, you'll see. But they've given it this dedicated button. So for most users, they're going to click here. Now, I looked around the set, can't find any else, which would have been nice. I click this little button in the corner here. It brings up this thing called Bixby Vision, probably the coolest part of Bixby right now. After I pop off a photo of the camera, it'll bring up similar things that it searched for on. I don't know immediately how useful. You take a picture of a bananas, okay. How are you going to compete with Google? So the question remains, Galaxy S8, S8 Plus, does it suck? Probably no, not at all. All right, it's a beautiful thing. You'll be happy if you buy it. You just got to figure out if you could have go with a cheaper phone. All of a sudden, maybe you take a vacation, you meet the love, now you're on a sailboat, or you could just spend alone with your S8. Or Dollar Shave Club. You heard that name kicking around in the past. You're probably load of cash on your razors right now because you want to look clean. You want to look slick like Tom. It's important in life to protect your most valuable resource. Do you know what that resource is, Tom?
Your face.
Wrong! Time. That resource is time. It's the one thing you'll never get more of. These guys right here, what do? They send you the mail, so you don't even need to think about sharp razors. What is that dull one doing for you? It's messing all this up. Well, you think this comes cheap right here? How long does this take?
Not long.
Sure, bud. You get a package in the mail. They take care of you once a month. Now you're thinking, wow, once a month? That must be expensive. It's not. In fact, right now, it's $1. $1, that should take care of the terrible smell coming out of you right now. It's got the shaved butter in here. This is a deluxe kind of setup. We have the razor blades, the body bar, so maybe more this kind of guy, I don't know. Oh, and something like that with the metal and the paying something for that. Got $1 for the first time. Tom will be shaving for you. Why did you leave? Now, Tom was telling me earlier what kind of trim up a little bit. He likes a little bit of something going on. Everything you need to get cleaned up so you can lead a better life. $1 to get started. DollarShaveClub.com/unboxing. How can they look like you, Tom?
Dollar Shave Club.
That's right!